Damian is the first of 3 new brawlers coming into Brawl Stars, and today I'm going to pit him 1v1 versus every brawler in the game to find out how he stacks up against the competition. But first, let me tell you about him and his abilities. Damian is Draco's brother and the final member of the Mad Evil Manor trio. He is a mythic tank with a healthy 11,200 hit points at max level. He has the normal tank speed, which is slightly faster than normal for other classes. His main attack is a single punch that deals an underwhelming 1,400 damage per hit. However, after 2 punches in a row that land, he charges up a bar that lasts for 5 seconds. During this time, his next attack becomes a huge kick that deals 2,400 damage, knocks an enemy back, and causes them to explode, dealing an extra 1,600 damage. However, you have to land 2 consecutive attacks to get this bar fully charged. If you miss one, the bar goes away. The explosion from his kick is an AoE effect that can ignite and explode other brawlers as well. And you can make this knockback even stronger with his first star power called Crowd Kill. With this, when you knock an enemy back into a wall, it will stun them for half of a second. And if there isn't a wall nearby, you can make your own wall with his second gadget called Wall of Sound. Aiming this will let you throw down an indestructible 3-tile wall that will last for 7 seconds. But if you really want to wall someone in, then all you gotta do is use your super. This super is called Mosh Pit, and it charges up very quickly. When you unleash it, he will leap into a target area which has a very long range and create a wall of speakers around him. If an enemy tries to walk out of the pit, they will be bounced back in by the speakers and take 1,400 damage. Damian, however, can walk freely through it, as well as in Brawl Ball, he can carry the ball through those speakers as well. This super lasts for 5 seconds, and while you can't walk through the speakers, you can destroy them to get free. With his hypercharge, this Mosh Pit will have a fiery floor, causing 800 damage per tick to anyone trapped inside. And if all of this sounds really wild, well, yes it is, but it gets even wilder because with his second star power called Vulgar Display of Punch, when he uses his super, when he lands, he will have his knockback kick ready to go, which will lead to some insane burst damage right away. But if you do manage to damage him quite a bit, well, then he can just use his first gadget called Spiritual Healing, where he throws a mic on the ground and the first person that picks it up will get healed for 3,200 hit points. That includes your teammates. It's wild. So now that you know all about Damian's kit, let's put him in the arena and find out how he fares at base level interactions, starting with the controllers. Right away, you're going to notice that there is a wall behind Damian's opponents. This is only really to help me, as I have to control 2 iPads at once while doing these interactions. I did not use a star power that stuns an enemy when they hit a wall because while it's possible in a game, it's not something that's going to happen all the time, and honestly, I think his other star power is better anyway. So he doesn't get an edge from the wall here, it's just to help me. However, there is no helping Gene in this fight as Damian is just too much. Mr. P came close, but couldn't finish the job. Squeak wasn't able to avenge Mr. P's defeat as he explodes, but Lou does get his freeze off and lives. For a second at least. And then he loses, just like Otis does as well, even though it was very close. Willow gets off 3 shots, but doesn't live to tell the tale, and it does take Damian a bit to finally take down Chuck, but he does get the win. Charlie's Yo-Yo has absolutely 0 chance of winning this fight, and Finks looks cool in that new skin, but it doesn't help him. Ziggy is basically a thrower and has no chance, and Sandy doesn't have the damage to compete either. Amber unleashes her flame, but Damian is unfazed. And finally, Sirius may be a star, but he burns out quickly. So 19-1 against the controllers, which shouldn't come as a huge surprise, and in a game, I think this is going to be a nightmare for them. Except Griff. Griff was kind of made for this matchup. The rest of them, however, will do just fine, at least in the start. But even then, as they keep Damian at bay, it won't last forever, and eventually he is going to get that super, and when he does, it's gonna be lights out. They will not be able to escape his wrath once he leaps in. He has way too many hit points, and with a wall trapping them in the mosh pit, a kick that knocks them back into damage, and then explodes for even more damage, they really have no chance there. Now that's not to say that some of these brawlers aren't up for the challenge though. Ems has a knockback, Lou has a freeze, Charlie can use her cocoon, and Sirius will be able to build up some shadows, but make no mistake, This is a bad matchup for the controllers once he gets close. However, another class that likes to get close is the Assassin, so let's see how they do. When you're playing an Assassin, usually the last target that you want to go for is a huge tank, but as you can see here, some of these Assassins are actually winning. And the ones that don't put up a pretty darn good fight despite having vastly less health than Damian does. The biggest reason for these fights being this close is because Damian doesn't have a ton of burst damage until he either uses a super or his kick attack. Because of that, these bursty assassins are giving him as much as they are getting, and we can see that by Fang taking him down to his last bit of health. Miko, on the other hand, with some perfectly timed punches, gets launched back, and when he comes back in, it's curtains. Melody has no burst either and fizzles out. Lily does have a lot of burst damage, but she can't keep it going long enough to win. Ali tries her best but gets knocked back and then knocked out. But Gigi spins her way straight to victory. It only takes 3 punches for Crow to go down. Leon, however, absolutely shreds Damian to bits. Cord gives it his best shot and almost wins, but Kenji, despite his healing, eventually gets whittled down to nothing and goes boom. And his wife Kaze came really close with her damage, but in the end, she goes down. So 12-5 against the Assassins is still a pretty good record, but many of these fights were very close. While there are many situations in the game that you'll be able to take Damian out, I still don't think that this is the target that you want to be going for all the time. Unless he's already weak, you're probably better off just going after a different brawler. Many of these assassins will also be able to survive the mosh pit as well. They could break themselves out of it really fast if they wanted to run, or use one of their many jumps or escapes to get away. Mortis, however, just might be stuck. Overall, I still think this fight goes to Damian, but it's not as bad as the record might suggest. Both of these brawlers probably just ought to look out for each other, because it could go either way. However, one class that really needs to watch out is the marksman. The last place you want to be as a marksman is within punching range of a big old tank, but this is my video and I haven't given them the choice to opt out of this fight. So here they are, doing their best to get a win against a brand new tank that, with just a couple of punches and a kick, takes out most of them before they even have a chance to fight back. Belle's puny shield ain't gonna save her today, and Mandy's long range means nothing here. Maisie does well against tanks, but not in this spot. Angelo? Well, I mean, at least he gets off one shot. Janet explodes before she can even lift off, and Pierce barely gets off his big shot before getting beat. 11-0. I mean, well, we kind of knew that was going to happen, and really there isn't a great way to set up this test. The marksmen are very out of place this close, but the good news is that in a game, they will not be this close. At least not at first. I mean, sure, you may be able to build up your super and deal some damage, but the moment that Damian gets that super of his, you better be on your toes because you are going to be a huge target for him and his mosh pit. If you're Piper, you might want to have that jump ready, or if you're Maisie, have your finger over that knockback. Janet better fly away, and Angelo better hope that he's running that jump gadget. Because if not, then you are going to be a punching bag stuffed with explosives. This one is a huge advantage for the marksman until that super lights up, and then the tables turn and you better be ready to run. But you know who won't be able to run? The throwers. If you thought the marksman got outmatched, then it doesn't even compare to this one. Every single thrower gets thrown around here like a rag doll as Damian is ready to rock and he holds nothing back. These throwers never even really had a chance. And really, why would they? They're at point blank range with no wall to save them from Damian's wrath. Yeah, 7-0. As expected. And in the game, it's not going to be pretty. Damian has a ton of health and he isn't slow. But the thing that really seals the deal here is that incredible super. Throwers like to hide behind walls, but in this mosh pit, the walls are their worst enemy. Well, I mean, aside from the angry dude punching them in the face. But I mean, other than that, yeah. Throwers are going to do perfectly fine. Again, until he gets his super. And let me remind you, he gets that super very fast. So it will not be long before Damian comes knocking on your doorstep. And just like a door-to-door salesman, it's hard to get rid of him. If you're playing a thrower, just try your best to stay away from the metal head with a microphone because you do not have the tools to defend yourself here. But a class that does have the ability to do that is the damage dealers. So finally, we have come to a class that is made for this matchup. Of all the classes in the game, the one that is meant to stand up to these tanks are the damage dealers. Almost every single one of these brawlers has the firepower to put Damian in his place, and a lot of them have the health to absorb at least a few punches from him. Except Rico. Yeah, I mean, he's too fragile. Okay, so all that talking might have been a stretch. In actuality, most of these brawlers are still having a tough time. Though that's mainly because they can't use their supers, as these are only base level interactions. If all abilities were on the table, then they'd be fighting back a bit more. But even with that said, Damian is doing a good job of putting these brawlers in their place. Like, Eve really isn't that kind of brawler up close, so she doesn't work well there. And RT would be a different story entirely if he were split. Clancy at stage 2 is close, but stage 3 he would win. Mo, however, doesn't come close. He's a brawler that relies on his super. Lumi's health is not nearly up to Damian's level, and she gets leveled. And Mina finds herself in a similar situation, taking the L. Naja still shouldn't be here. She's a controller. But Spike does work before he gets worked. Surge fires fast and goes down just as fast, but if there's one brawler that can win, it's Chester. So yeah, not the best record here. That was not pretty for a class that should have been the chosen one. Now, in a game, I think this one's a lot closer. There are plenty of brawlers here who can indeed stand up to Damian in his mosh pit, and almost all of them have a big range advantage on him. You can pretty much treat Damian like any other tank you're going to go up against, and in some cases you might be able to be aggressive towards him. Of course, you again need to watch out for that super, and even more so his hypercharge super. But play it right here and you can for sure win against him, although at the same time, if he catches you slipping and decides that it's your time for the mosh pit, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You better hope that there's somebody there to support you. I mean, who knows, maybe one of these next group of brawlers from the support class will be the one. Alright, I mean, who am I kidding? These are the support brawlers. There ain't no way that they're going to be able to beat a tank with over 11,000 hit points that deals almost 7,000 damage in 3 hits. This is not a fight that these brawlers were made for. Although, I mean, look at Barry. He almost wins this one. And actually, this highlights Damian's lack of burst damage. The game classifies his reload speed as very fast, and it is, but when you're on the verge of death and waiting for that next shot to reload, it kind of feels like forever. Gray gets beat badly, however in a drawn out match, the Swag Master Doug is able to come out on top thanks to his healing and his health. Jay doesn't have the luxury of healing himself here and goes down, but Glowy with the non-stop heals takes this down to the very wire before finally getting beat. And last up, we have Kit. Yeah, no, he ain't winning. So besides Pam and Doug, it was a beatdown. Now once again, this is a pretty big mismatch, but it's also not one that you're going to be going against very often. That is until Damian decides it's time to rock out and leaps on your forehead. And when that happens, you really don't stand a chance here. He's a tank. You're a support. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I just suggest having another tank come and help you out. Would that even work? Let's find out. I saved the tanks to the very end on purpose. The reason for that is that when Damian goes up against his own class, it really puts a spotlight on his one big weakness, his main attack. Most tanks have a shot that is one of two things. Either it's a flurry of punches like El Primo, or a single shot that deals massive damage. Damian, however, has a single shot that deals pretty weak damage. You are really relying on him hitting consecutive punches so that you get that combo attack. If you miss one punch, that combo bar resets. And really, that combo attack is the one way you're going to have enough gas in the tank to get kills. If you don't get that, you are going to get rolled over in a hurry. And that is his one biggest weakness by far. I mean, sure, his main attack doesn't have much range, but he's a tank, so that's kind of expected. And even his knockback from his kick can hurt him sometimes in the same way that it does BB, as it knocks an opponent back out of his range. You can almost think of a brawler like this as a more of a skillful one. I mean, as much as you can call a close range brawler skillful. You are going to have to be aware of that combo bar and be precise with your attacks, or it's not going to end well for you. Unless you're going up against Ollie. Then yeah, you win. Meg is a pretty close one, but he is able to work through her health and then beat her little form as well, but she has the range on him normally. And then finally up against his brother Draco, it's not even close. Draco destroys him with ease, which gives him a 4-10 record against the tanks and a still respectable 78 wins and 23 losses overall. So then, you have seen Damian 1v1 versus every brawler in Brawl Stars. Is he going to be any good? Well, there's a long and a short answer. The short answer is yes, he's going to be good. The long answer is yes, he is going to be very good. That being said, he's not like a typical tank. He can just flat out roll up on most brawlers in the game and delete them with a few hits. His super is absolutely devastating and it charges way too freaking fast. You can chain super after super after super. He has a gadget that heals him up, which will save you time and time again. And his wall gadget, I mean, it's kind of a gimmick, but it is a fun one. Now, as for what modes to play him in, you can play him pretty much everywhere. Like in Brawl Ball, he is going to be a beast, like crazy dynamic. Gym Grab, he is going to be a menace to society as an aggro. He'll be the last thing that you see in Showdown if the map is any good for tanks, and even in Heist, he can cover so much ground, he could be an interesting option for like taking some space. Now he does have some weaknesses, but they aren't that bad. And aside from the tanks that deal massive damage up close, you're going to steamroll over most brawlers. And if you catch people bunching up, they will absolutely explode with damage. Literally. I don't know how else to say it, but once again, this brawler's broken. His supercharge rate needs a nerf. And in maps where tanks can work, he's going to be shredding people. Like 10 out of 10. This brawler is crazy, especially if you like playing tanks. You're going to have an absolute blast with this brawler. But how does he fare against Star Nova, the new assassin? Well, come back tomorrow, find out.